Welcome to the Stygian Stilettos Gamer channel. This is Stygian Sis. Please like, share, and subscribe, and find me at twitter.com/Stygian Sis. Hey, Final Fantasy fam, this your girl Stygian Stilettos Gamer, aka Stygian Sis. I have my girl Tifa the Monk with me again. What's up, girl?
Hello.
Hello.
I celebrate Tifa's birthday with you.
Yes, I'm very excited. I've been waiting for it for a while. I think we all have. And and technically, it is Tifa's birthday as we're recording this. So happy birthday, Tifa! Woo woo!
Girl.
She would be 35. Isn't that amazing? Ugh, God. I'm like, hey, she'd be a little older than I am. A lot older than you.
Yeah, she would be older than me, but yes, icon. Total icon.
Total icon. Oh, and she, of course, would still be the amazing. I mean, she'd be even more amazing at 35. So,
Oh yeah, definitely would be.
So speaking of how amazing Tifa is, we just want to show her a little love. And during this video, you'll also see lots of Tifa fans who are contributing. I asked people, just kind of put some fillers out, see if people wanted to contribute some nice words or audio or video about Tifa. And actually got a lot of responses, and so you will see that throughout this video. And it was just really sweet stuff. It's all love. This is going to be a podcast full of love today, so very excited. But yeah, speaking of how amazing Tifa is, why don't you just give kind of your overall view of Tifa Lockhart? Maybe, your first thoughts about her and just the things that you've come to appreciate about her over the years that you've been a Final Fantasy fan.
Well, I was introduced to her in middle school, and my first introduction to Tifa as a character was actually Kingdom Hearts. I was a Kingdom Hearts fan before I was a Final Fantasy fan. I was introduced to the series through Kingdom Hearts, and I liked her. She kind of stuck out to me a little bit. The one scene that does stick out to me was when she's thrashing the library and she scares the crap out of Sora and Leon. And she's just there just destroying this library. And I was already kind of interested. What's this girl's story? And then of course I looked into Final Fantasy VII from that, and I went through everything out of order. I actually watched Advent Children first before I played FF7 OG. And I was so confused on my first viewing. I was like, what is going on? Nothing is making sense. And then my friends were like, you need to play the game. Everything will make sense once you play the game. And so then I played FF7 OG, and I loved her even more. The thing about Tifa is that she's quite a bit different from a lot of other female characters in video games. She is not typical in any sort of fashion. She is a strong fighter, but she also has this. She still manages to keep her feminine flair about her, even though she's a tough fighter. She has this gentle spirit, and that is what attracted me to this character. Because I'm actually a very particular person when it comes to female characters. I am extraordinarily picky about that, which is why I typically gravitate towards male characters, because I feel like, unfortunately, they are better written. I think a lot of times female characters do not get written well, and that's a problem. But
Mm-hmm.
with Tifa is definitely an outlier. She has such an interesting backstory, and it's so interwoven with the main character, and it's such an important part of the story. And it's not so apparent at first, but as you're playing through the game, it builds and builds and builds until finally you get to the climax in the live stream scene. And that right there, the live stream scene, is what cemented Tifa as my all-time favorite uh, female video game character. That scene right there is what makes her stand apart from all the others. I mean, I have a lot of characters that I do like, but Tifa is special. And that scene in the live stream scene, and the way the story builds to that, and the way her story arc builds, that is what sets it apart. And I just really love this character. And every bit of lore that's added to her just compounds, and she's a very complex character. She There's nothing simple about her. She has a lot of things that she goes through in her life, from childhood. And Tifa's one of those characters where you get to follow through her life as she grows and matures, and each part of the story adds more to her, and you get to see her growth as a character. And I love that. There's nothing stagnant about her. She's constantly growing and evolving and taking on new roles in her life as she grows as a character. She starts off as this, innocent, kind of naive girl in this, village town. And then, tragedy strikes. She loses her mother. She goes through a change there. She starts to, she gets this adventurous streak. She wants to, learn how to conquer the mountain and stuff. She as a teenager, she becomes a mountain guide. Even though she had an accident there as a child, she overcomes that fear and becomes a mountain guide. Then she learns martial arts from Zangan, and then tragedy strikes again. She loses her father, she loses her hometown, and she gets left in Midgar with nothing but the clothes on her back. She has no family, no friends, and Traces of Two Paths does an excellent job. And Nojima did a fantastic job going through and showing everything that she went through once she got into Midgar. And it just adds so much to her character. And, like I said, every bit of new lore that we learn from Tifa just makes me love her even more as a character.
Whew, I agree with everything you said.
I'm sorry,
Excellent.
that was like a big slew, but
Oh yeah, you used the Tifa love was pouring heavy. I was like, I'm not even gonna interrupt her. Let her keep going. Thank you. Yeah, it was excellent hearing how you got into it, because a lot of people got into Final Fantasy VII through Kingdom Hearts, which is great. And I think they probably foresaw that, Disney being a big thing, and they're like, well, shoot, let's throw some Final Fantasy VII characters in here, and we can get some more traction for the game. So,
oh, yeah,
a brilliant move on their part.
Yeah,
But
I've always been a huge Disney fan, and so when I saw that just Kingdom Hearts with these kind of anime type characters and Disney characters, I was like, ooh, what is this?
yeah, drew a lot of people in. I let's see. As people who know my streaming and know my content, I was introduced to Tifa through Final Fantasy VII, the OG, and I always thought she was a cool character. I would say I became more and more of a fan as more of the compilation began, because I was so young when I first played it. But it was cool seeing, a badass, superhero-like female character who, was breaking norms, things you could even pick up even as a kid, like the fact that she was, you couldn't quite tell who owned the business, but it was clear that Tifa was running the business. Tifa was doing a lot of the planning and stuff for Avalanche, and, she had this bond with Cloud, but also had, and even though they had made that promise, she still was a super cool fighter and had made a life of her own. And you get to see, like, I used to love fighting with her. I replayed OG recently over the summer. Well, I guess not recently. It's almost summer again. But it was cool. Like, all her moves, I remember her limit breaks were always my favorite and stuff like that. So, and then as you said, the compilation goes on and they just build more on her character. At this point, she's the most fleshed out character of anybody. We can see her from nearly practically birth until past DLC, and not just her, but getting a lot of her inner thoughts. Whereas we know a lot of Cloud's story, but we don't even get to see it from his perspective. A lot of it, it's through other people, or it's like Devin reviews just saying things that happen to him as opposed to getting his perspective. So Tifa's just so fleshed out, and I think anybody who gets into the whole compilation, the more you get into the compilation, the better of a character she shows herself to be. So
Tifa is a thoroughly complex, compelling, and well-written character who I'm very glad is starting to see the love she always deserved. In the original title, when her story was only told through text boxes and stiff polygon figures, it's easy to miss a lot of the emotional nuances and complexities going on. But thanks to a wonderful performance by the amazing Britt Baron and a great team of animators at Square Enix, her story is now told way better. I truly enjoyed writing her page on the FF Wiki, and I consider it among my best work, not just because I love the character so much, but because it was so challenging and engaging to write. Beneath her tough and strong exterior as a kick-ass and athletic fighter, she carries a lot of shyness and emotional burdens. She's compassionate, motherly, and she's fiercely protective of those close to her, but she has a lot of flaws and imperfections as well. She's driven by revenge as Shinra took everything from her, but she still pauses, not wanting to create more little girls like her who've lost their home and family to this war. You remember the flashback scene in the reactor when she cries after having lost everything? She doesn't want other people to end up like that, so that's why she has a little bit of pause. She always holds Barrett back from maybe making brash and bold decisions, but it is Barrett who convinces her to push on and push ahead. It's these relationships she has with him, with Cloud, with Aerith, with everyone, and it's all these flaws and imperfections and all the contradictions that make her so human and so believable. That's why she's such a complete and human character, and really one of the best female characters in gaming. Plus, she can spin a giant robot over her head, leap into the air into it, and toss it to the ground. I mean, yeah, Sabin, we see you with your suplex crane. Now try and beat that.
Completely agree with you. Let's get into a couple specifics, though. So we have these different stages of Tifa. I would call the formative years, you're talking about birth through, I would say probably through the promise or like the Nibelheim incident. Then we have when she gets to Midgar. So I would say 15 to 20 years old. Then we have OG, of course. And we have Avid Children Tifa and beyond. And each stage brings its own, intricacies and complexities to her character. Let's start with the formative years. I would say, I'm just thinking of like favorite things or things that stick out to me. When you mentioned that the mountain incident, I happen to have a huge fear of heights, and it small side story comes from when I believe I was in 3rd grade. I was wearing these boots. I thought I was cool. I don't know, whatever. I was wearing boots, and we had concrete stairs outside the building, and I fell down in front of the whole school. Fell down all the stairs, scratched up my face. I think the embarrassment killed me more than anything. But I don't know, ever since I just had a fear of heights. What is amazing about Tifa is she fell off of a mountain. Almost died. She was in a coma for 7 days. And, it's it's nice to see that she clearly has faced her fears. If you just look at anything she's doing after her time with the mountain incident, as you said, she becomes a mountain guide. She faces her fears. She becomes a mountain guide. All the stuff that she does during the game, like climbing skyscrapers and and just all these different places where you would think it would terrify her to be, but she's just such a survivor and such a trooper, and she pushes through the things that scare her and come out and always comes out a better person. And so that's a really amazing quality about her that I think about when I think about her formative years, about how she didn't let almost dying, hinder her from doing what she wanted to out of life. And I think any person can take a lesson from that, but especially just us being women who like video games. And as you said, historically they have not gotten the attention they deserve. It's nice to see a character that a lot of young girls can look up to as a role model in many ways. What are some things you what are some things you think of when you think of Tifa 0 through 15 years? Kind of your favorite stuff, or just things that are memorable for you?
Well, I am kind of on the same wavelength as you. I think one of the best things is just her resilience. She loses her mother at a very young age, and you can tell from the way that she handles that she was very close with her mother, and she did not she of course didn't handle the loss very well, and wanting to put herself in a dangerous situation, climbing up the mountain at such a young age to try and get back with her mother, and suffering an injury like that. I mean, she was in a coma for a week. She almost died. And a situation like that, I know I wouldn't want to climb up that mountain again. But she, as she grows, she decides to conquer that fear and becomes a mountain guide, where she would have to go up there all the time. She had to learn all of those, pathways and know them like the back of her hand. So that meant that she spent a lot of time going up there and exploring, even though she knew firsthand how dangerous it was. Mm-hmm. And that shows you what kind of personality that she has. That she has this inner strength and this resilience that once she sets her mind to something, she does not back off of it. And it's something that pops up again later on in her life. When she loses Cloud, and he has the Mako poisoning, she has that same level of resilience of, even though the world is falling apart around her, she's still intent on staying by his side and taking care of him no matter what.
Yes, and it's I'm sorry to cut you off. That is so right. She sees an impossible situation and still finds a way to get through it on the other side. That is definitely a quality of Tifa's, because in that situation, most people did give up on Clash. She was the only one that stayed by his side, just believing that he would come back to her, and he did. Yeah, so I completely agree with that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
we're jumping a bit, but we just love this character.
The other moment that sticks out to me is during the Nibelheim incident, and she again climbs the mountain to confront Sephiroth, and she knows how powerful he is because she just saw him destroy the town, but she's still willing to go up there and confront him. And after she loses her father, she picks up his sword. She's ready to take him on. This 15-year-old girl ready to take on the top soldier at his peak, and she basically had no fear. I'm sure she did have fear, but she didn't allow it to hold her back. I mean, she charged at him full force, and it probably wasn't the most well thought out plan, but you have to admire her
tenacity.
Her tenacity, exactly. Her gumption to go after him like that. And she was ready to kill him.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. And yeah, I mean, she was reckless. She's 15. She just lost her father.
Yeah,
She's
and
not
she's
thinking clearly.
emotional.
You know.
She's angry. She's hurt.
Mm,
She's not thinking clearly, but she has that fire innately within her that
yes.
fuels her to do these, sometimes kind of crazy things. That kind of reminds me of that line that Cloud says, when they're in Remake, when they're climbing up the pillar, and Cloud's like, "Are you crazy?"
Or she said, "You're crazy." It's like, yeah, just like you, which really is a quality
Yeah.
that they share for sure. Because even if you talk about Nibelheim, Cloud did the same thing. He confronted Sephiroth. This is a 6-year-old grunt, you know what I mean? So like they have that in common. Yeah, it's pretty funny.
Yeah.
They both apparently, but like I don't give a damn. I'm ready to kill Sephiroth. So,
Something that is definitely something they have in common, and something that they share, and I think something that they can relate to each other in a way.
yeah.
I fell in love with Tifa as soon as I saw her on that porch waiting for Cloud. I was dazzled by her smile, hospitality, her turned voice, and her reserved side. I think she's kind, dedicated, work hard, care about people, doing her best despite her doubts and stress. She's beautiful and badass. I have always loved martial arts. She's so powerful, fast, and her movements are super cool. I really like the fact that she helped her childhood friends, whom she hasn't seen for so long, and give him advice to start a life. She's respectful and patient, but we discover her vulnerability too. We see that she hides her sadness and tries to move forward, but despite everything, we feel there is hesitation in the cause she's in, and she doesn't want to hurt people. She always consider others. When I start play the OG, watching Advent Children, reading the novel, I was in awe. She's such a great, deep, and complex character.
All right. So now when she gets to Midgar, now this is for people who aren't aware of Traces of Two Paths and what happens there. So Trace of Two Paths goes through her years of 15 to 20 years old, basically right before the game starts, where she's just almost been killed by Sephiroth. And it shows how she goes from literally nothing. Of course, my phone will go off right there. Literally nothing to the person that we know when the game first starts. Now, during this time, I mean, it really is incredible. If I wake up at a hospital, I'm 15. My whole world is gone. I know no one. I don't know that Cloud's alive. I don't know if any of my friends that went to went to Midgar are alive. Everyone I know is dead, as far as I know. I mean, I don't know what I would do as a 33-year-old if that happened to me right now. She's 15, basically cut to pieces by Sephiroth. And I love that they show her brilliance, and as we said before, her tenacity, her drive, because she, even just something like figuring out how to get room and board, how to shower, because she has to pay for showers. She's doing all this math in her head. Okay, I can, if I sell A, B, and C buns, I can get this amount of money, and that'll take care of this. You can see all this, like Nojima just lays this all out, all this is going on in her head, and in circumstances, again, which most people would just fall apart and just give up on. And it shows how she eventually becomes I guess 3 times business owner, because she also basically runs the delivery service. I'm just so impressed by that. And I like that they give you this trail as to how she eventually becomes, an owner of her own business by the time she's 18. So I think that's what is most memorable for me when I think of those years. Avalanche obviously is honorable mentions for her to be willing to sacrifice her life to help the planet, though it is driven by, revenge to a large degree. But at the end of the day, being willing to die for a cause is being willing to die for a cause. You know what I mean? So,
Absolutely.
yeah, so, and it's a good cause. I mean, saving the planet is a good cause. So,
Yeah.
I want to be clear, not just any cause. So, what about you? What do you think about those Tifa during those years, as far as, just things that stick out to you?
Well, one of the main things that stuck out to me was the way that she handled her injury, because the way that Nojima describes it, I mean, she was almost cut in half by Sephiroth. I mean, it was a very, very severe injury, and she was very weak, and she had to basically start from the ground up. I mean, she was a pretty fit person during the Nibelheim incident, but after her injury, she became very weak, and she could barely walk. She could barely hold herself up, and she had to completely start from the bottom and just work endlessly to get her strength back, and she did in record time, honestly. And all this while not having a shoulder to lean on. She was just by herself, basically, and people were taking advantage of her at every turn, and she worked her way through all of it and managed to save up money. And of course, buy that business, the Seventh Heaven, and then willing to put herself back in debt again to help other people, like homeless Barrett and Marlene, giving them a place to stay. It shows you that even though she herself would be, would benefit from, somebody helping her out, she's the one going around and even would be willing to, give the coat off of her back to somebody when she has next to nothing herself.
Yep.
She's willing to go that extra mile to help out other people, and it's something that is really nice to see in a character. Those kind of character traits, and Tifa is just one of those characters where it's really, really easy to love her and really easy to root for her.
Absolutely. And speaking of, it just occurred to me, because you mentioned how fit she was. There's so much to Tifa's character and so many good things to say about her. Neither one of us have even mentioned the martial arts thing yet.
Well, I mentioned it in passing.
In passing, yeah.
Yeah, I haven't really gotten too much into it.
Yeah, the fact that she... So I'm going to backtrack just for a second here. The fact that she, at, 12, 13... Even after she had asked this promise of Cloud, when she was 12, she asked this promise of Cloud to come save her and be a hero. But, it shows that she, because I think it's a letter that she gets back from one of the boys about basically he'll come and save her when it's time or something like that. And she's like, no, I can fight too. I don't need any saving, She decides she wants to be able to protect her home, herself. And Zangan comes along at the, I guess the right time, takes an interest in her. And again, just from these lessons, because it doesn't seem like they had a lot of time together before he had to leave. She takes what she learned from him and again goes on to save the world, become one of the greatest fighters on the planet. So that's also just something I couldn't just completely overlook that. We had to bring that up for a second.
Absolutely. And here's the other thing too that Traces of Chief Past kind of delves into is that Tifa is largely self-taught. Anakin gave her some instruction, but Tifa basically trained herself.
It's amazing.
And that was one of the things that impressed him about her is that how quickly she learned and how she basically did all of her training on her own.
And that takes a lot of discipline for an adult, let alone a 12, 13-year-old, whatever, 12, 13, 14, yeah. So that's amazing. Whew. And speaking of her going on to save the world, OG Tifa. Now, we could talk OG / remake, it's all going to be in the same time frame. So, that's a big topic because we're talking about a whole game. I would say, we've gone over a lot of the really impressive things, just impressive for any person to do. And I want to stress that we talk about the fact that she's a female character, but the accomplishments she's had would be impressive for anybody to achieve. I think what sticks out to me with OG is she is a very devoted person to the people that she cares about. Of course, in particular, Cloud. But as you said, she took in a homeless Barrett and Marlene and things like that. But when you talk about Medill is such a powerful moment because the world is ending. Everything's in ruin. It's in large part Cloud's fault. Not that it was, he was tricked and we get that. But for her to overlook his role in, the world kind of ending and stuff like that. And the fact that he's in this catatonic state, he's useless to the world. But she looks at him and she's like, this is somebody who needs me. This is somebody I love. This is somebody who needs me. And I'm not leaving his side. And as we know, with her determination, nothing was going to change her. Her friends didn't even try to talk her out of it. They were like, Tifa's made up her mind. She's staying here. People know that about her. When she puts her mind to something, she's going to do it. And she believed and it turns out staying with Cloud and of course the foreshadowing from chapter 17 turns out that voice in her head to say stick it out, stay there, worked out because saved his life. So I loved I love seeing throughout the story, especially once you know the story and you replay, you can see all the little kindnesses and the worries she has for Cloud and the other characters and even with her rivalry with Aerith, which is part of the plot, so whatever. Even then, even though she is having this sort of, whatever rivalry with Aerith, she's still very nice to Aerith in many aspects. She's very friendly to her. She mourns her death. She honors her after death. All that. So, and then also one other thing is there's a lot of moments where Tifa shows she knows the people around her the best too. Somebody put, because it's Tifa week, one of our moots, I believe, put up a video about things she said about each character. But you get to see sort of the truth revealed between each character. So like she's talking about Barrett at one point and telling whoever he's having a fight with, well, Barrett knows that the things we did in Midgar were wrong, right? She's talking back and forth with him about that and getting him to open up in front of the team, like, yeah, maybe I would have done things differently and stuff like that. So it's interesting. She's always attentive to the people she cares about around her and listening and learning from them. And she's just a great quality. She's just a selfless person, really. I guess that's what I'm coming down to. She's just a really selfless person in so many ways. Yeah. I'm going to try to stop rambling about how much I love Tifa now. You go ahead.
Well, yeah, you put it beautifully. She's someone who always is attentive to what's going on around her, and she's always putting other people ahead of herself, and you can see that in the way that she handles things, even post OG. I'm going to kind of touch on later on in her life. She herself is dealing with PTSD. She's dealing with a lot of turmoil and stuff, but her main concern is for the kids that are that she's taking care of. She's taking care of Marlene, she's taking care of Denzel, and she puts their cares and everything above her own. And she's willing to take on these extra responsibilities. Barrett leaves to go deal with his own trauma, and Tifa agrees to take on Marlene and take care of her while he goes off and deals with things. And she's going through as much as anybody else is, but she's still willing to take on everyone else's burdens, and put her own traumas and her own guilt and whatever else that she's going through. She puts that on a back burner to take care of other people.
Agreed. Yeah, just and to think about her doing all of this while she's got everything that's going on with her, constant worrying about Cloud's condition, not just because she's she loves him, but she knows like he needs help. She's worried about everything going on with Avalanche. She's worried about Sephiroth and whatever the hell's going on with him. She's worried about she's got a ton of things to be worried about without also going that extra mile, being attentive and loving and trying to be there for others. I always think of this one part in chapter 6. They've just been caught on the train. Shinra's after them. They're in like the belly of the beast, and trying to find their way to the next reactor. She's about to blow up her first reactor. I mean, there's a lot that's on her mind. Survival's on her mind. But she takes a moment to, talk to Barrett and say, what should we tell Biggs? I don't want him to worry because Jesse's injured and Wedge has stayed behind. She in the middle of everything's going on, she's worried about how she's going to tell Biggs what's happening in a way that won't make him panic. That is Tifa Lockhart. Just an amazing person. Yes, and then what else about Remake? Remake really just, it took everything that we loved about Tifa, and like with all the other characters, it just refined her as a character. And I have very little complaints about anything involving Tifa in Remake. And I'm a person that likes to complain, but I can safely say it was, man, Remake made me fall in love with Tifa Lockhart for sure as a character, even more so than I already had liked her. It solidified my love for her, and I can't wait to see how the rest of the story goes with her. So,
absolutely.
What I love about Tifa Lockhart is she's an incredible character. She is an amazing fighter and all self-taught from a young age, which is completely nuts. She is so beautiful, she should be a mean girl, but she isn't. She's sweet and caring and selfless. And she has been through so much pain and heartache, and yet she's stayed so kind and she smiles through it. But she isn't perfect. She makes mistakes. She has flaws like everyone else, and it makes her more relatable. And finally, she will do anything. Anything for that dorky, chocobo-headed Cloud, even to the detriment of her own health, that you just want to see her happy. And that's why I think she's amazing. Thank you.
All right, and then last but not least, and I say like post OG, so like post OG Tifa, this is where, and they're so young, right? And all the characters are so young. She's 22 when having children happens, but every stage of Tifa, you just see more and more of her good qualities and how they mature with her and grow with her. And once again, we just got through talking about her devotion to other people. She's a young woman, just saved the world. She can do anything, go anywhere, do whatever she wants to do. But, she decides she wants to build this house with Cloud. And when Barrett is like, hey, I need you to watch Marlene, I need to go do my own thing, she doesn't hesitate. She's like, okay. She's a little nervous because now it's going to be, it's a different situation, and Barrett won't be there. She's kind of used to Barrett being there. But of course she's going to take Marlene. Marlene's like a daughter to her. And then even more so, Cloud runs into this kid that's in need, and she's like, "Yeah, take him home. Bring him home. He needs a home." Uh, I can't imagine taking in two six. Well, let me think. I guess a 4 or 5 and a 7, 8 year old at 22, 21, 22. But she doesn't. She wants to open up her heart and her home to these kids in need, and you can see how much she loves those kids and having children. The way she literally protects them with her body, and multiple times during the movie. And I love seeing their bedroom, because just all this stuff that a kid would love to see in their bedroom, toys and nice beds and all this. It's just really well. I mean, I know I'm kind of going into the weeds. What I'm saying is that you could tell through just even the little things, like how she's decorated the room and stuff like that, that she has a lot of love for those kids and she loves them like her own. She's, again, just a very selfless person. So when I think of having children, Tifa, I think of a girl who has even further matured than she already is. And she has seamlessly taken on the role of a mother. Again, now a 2-time business owner. She's taken on this role because she's also in a unique situation, being in a relationship with Cloud, because he did lose 5 years of his life. I mean, he, from 16 to 21, he was captured or running, and his mind was gone. So she's also in this thing where she's as always helping guide him to a better life and stuff like that. She's always taking care of the people around her. It's just a great quality about her. I just freaking love it. Okay.
Absolutely. Yep.
So, any thoughts about having children, Tifa?
You pretty much covered it. But yeah, she has definitely matured a lot by the time having children rolls around, and yeah, just her caring nature is very amplified in that movie. And also the book that precedes it, On the Way to a Smile. She's like I said, she's very attentive to the needs of other people. She's always concerned about the well-being of others, and it with everything that she goes through, she only has, just that one moment where she's, some of her frustration finally, escapes her. And it's in a moment where, the kids that are basically, they're her kids, are in immediate danger. And she's like, you know what? I need you need to focus, and you need to go get those kids.
Mm-hmm.
And even, in a stressful situation like that, where I certainly would not have handled it the way she did, she has so much patience and kindness, despite everything that she's gone through.
Mm-hmm. And even then, she knows that Cloud needs to do it as much for himself as he needs to do it for those kids, too. She's thinking multi-layered.
Yeah. And she was always there for him, the way that she was always there for the people in her life. Whenever they needed her, she was always there. And she, made sure that she helped him with his business and everything. Even going so far as to basically buy his bike for him.
Yeah.
Delivery services. And the people around her know that about her, and it's like a given. Like Cloud didn't even bother I mean, he did ask her, but he was like, he already knew it was a given that Tifa's gonna help me out with this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
because she's that reliable that the people around her know that they can count on her for whatever that they need.
Mm-hmm.
And that speaks a lot to what kind of a person that she is, that other people feel like they can rely on her, and other people know that she's going to do everything that she can to help them out.
Mm-hmm. Which part of why he loves her, and he shows that with his devotion. He has this depression and all that, but it's literally, it takes him dying for him to leave and to go find the cure. They I just love their devotion to one another. beautiful. But yeah, and then I also like her. One other thing that we hadn't touched on. What do you think about her internal conflicts as far as Avalanche and stuff like that? I think that also makes, as far as things that make her memorable for me. You know, kind of the fact that yeah, she is. She really is fired up for revenge, but she also is conflicted because she wonders at what point does this become immoral, even if it is for the planet. What are your thoughts on that aspect of her character? And I think it makes her definitely more three-dimensional, you know, as opposed to like a one-dimensional type. You know, I mean, there's nothing one-dimensional about Tifa Lockhart. Yeah, but just curious what you think about even her, I guess, flaws. I don't even know if you would call it a flaw. Just
honestly, I love the way that they touched upon her inner conflict. It definitely humanizes her, and not only that, but it gives a perspective, a unique perspective on Avalanche. You know, coming from Tifa, someone who's, you know, very active in the group, but it shows, you know, that she has such a kind and loving heart that, you know, even though she blames Shinra for the destruction of her home, and of course that helps fuel her for, you know, participating in what Avalanche is doing, she still has this kindness where she doesn't want other people to die. I mean, that's a direct line that she says to one of the Shinra players. She says, "I don't want anyone else to die."
mm-hmm. Yep.
She obviously doesn't blame the individuals, you know, the peons, you know, the workers, you know, the people who work for the company. She blames the, you know, the head of it, but not, you know, just the regular people that are. It shows that she has enough humanity about her, and she thinks things through, where she doesn't just go and blanketly blame Shinra for everything. She knows that Shinra is a company made up of individual people, and not everyone is a team for whatever happened to her and her home.
Yeah, and she knows a lot of them have been lied to, just like the rest of the planet, about what they're up to.
Absolutely. So. And it shows that her real goal is actually to save the planet. It's not just to get revenge on Shinra and burn everything down. She has a humanity about her, and she wants to stop Shinra because she knows the evil that it perpetrates. But at the same time, she doesn't want to become the very thing that she hates.
Mm-hmm. Completely agree. Yeah, it's just so many layers to Tifa. And you know, I feel like we've covered a lot of her character. I'm trying to think if there's anything we've missed. There's just so much to her. I think we've covered most of it. And by the way, just side note, as you mentioned, the people around her see how genuine and true her heart is. There are a few that try to, I mean, I could have my criticisms, maybe try to take a little advantage here and there sometimes, but one thing about Tifa though is she is giving, but she isn't, I mean, she's nobody's pushover either, you know. For instance, with the thing with the bike, she knows the Cloud's devotion to her and that family. You know, I don't think she would have done that for any guy off the street, obviously. But that's her family, you know. So she's gonna go. Right. She's gonna do whatever she needs to do for her family. So yeah, when Cloud asked for that voucher, for a lifetime voucher, she literally didn't even ask. She was like, okay. I just love that about her. She knows who she can trust, and she keeps them close. But yeah.
Yep.
Well, I think I've covered everything I want to say. Any last thoughts? What I'm definitely looking forward to seeing how they flesh out all the great things about her more as time goes on. You do see some changes in some of the relationships she has, an example, and we just have so much angsty Tifa coming up. So, you know, Tifa fans, you know, get the Kleenexes out, because, you know, we got the Calm flashback coming up, and Nibelheim, and, Just all these things that will be coming up. But while we're getting these moments of grief, just like we had chapter 14 and stuff like that, we're gonna see her maybe have those moments of sadness, but as she always does, she's gonna power through. She's ultimately gonna save the hero, and ultimately save the planet after that. I love it. Love it, love it, love it. Can't say enough about Tifa Lockhart. Any last thoughts on that girl?
No, just that she is my favorite character for a reason, and I have very high standards, so
Yeah.
So the fact that I love this character so much, it speaks a lot to her, and I know I just sound arrogant, but she really is a very well written character, and I will go so far as to say she is probably one of the best. I might step on a few toes here, but I will say that she is probably one of the best written Square Enix characters to come out of this franchise.
Oh, I agree. I mean, and that's your experience. That's your opinion. Everybody sent out to their opinion. I would absolutely agree. I was going to say top 10. I mean, definitely top 5. I'm thinking top 3. I'm just trying to think who would be who would be above her.
There's tons of great characters, but I don't think there's any that's quite so fleshed out as Tifa.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
And so much of her life is shown, and so much of her development as a character. I mean, there's a lot of great FF characters out there.
Mm-hmm.
Don't get me wrong, but a lot of them do not benefit from the level of development that Tifa has gotten over the years.
Yeah, because which comes with the territory. You have this whole compilation with 7, so you get to see all of these different parts of her during the different stages of her life. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But she does benefit from that, and it does elevate her to a level that I think not a lot of other characters can reach.
Mm-hmm. I mean, there is a reason this character, a lot of good reasons, this character is universally loved throughout the years, throughout the fandom. Even games that have nothing to do with her, if she shows up in it, the game is 10 times better just for having her in it. So, yeah, that's what I love about her. All right. Well, as I said, I hope you enjoyed our little happy birthday Tifa event here, a little podcast here. Please, again, if you haven't already, our happy birthday Tifa event for Monk's Discord Under the Stars is running May 3rd, which is Tifa's birthday, through May 5th. Check out hashtag happy birthday Tifa. Also go to @CloudyEvents, which you can see, the prompts for everything, and I'm sure a lot of the fan art will be retweeted. Things like that. Keep up with any updates. So yeah, really appreciate y'all joining us. Thank you for coming again, Monk. Always love talking to you.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I had a lot of fun, and I'm always down to talking about Tifa.
Yes,
always down for it.
Yes, and we will again. We have a few things we need to go over in some other videos, so I will definitely see you again.
You can count on it.
All right, everybody. Y'all have a good one. This is Stygian Stilettos Gamer, and I am hashtag out of here, honey.